Hi everybody, it's Josh with Talk About Trek, and we are back again today, back to the beginning again here, because we're going to talk about a Star Trek The Next Generation numbered book here. When we last left off with this series, we were at number 50, a fine place to kind of stop and take a break and work on some other things for a bit. But now we have to get back to the bread and butter of what we're here to do on this channel, which is to talk about all of the Star Trek The Next Generation numbered series. That's actually how everything started, right? That was like the initial goal. And then we've kind of spread out from there. We've read multiple other things, and of course, delved into all the series that we could. But again, happy to be back reading another TNG book, and happy to be reading another series as well. It's always fun to get into something where there's going to be this kind of ongoing story, this ongoing mystery to solve. And that's, I think, a lot of what we're looking at here with John Gregory Betancourt's Infection. And John Gregory Betancourt, see, we just, I believe, read something else by him that we liked, a Voyager book, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that he did a great job with this one. Let's just kind of jump right into the normal from the cover, from the back kind of stuff here. Oh, and also, just because we're so very excited to be back, we've got this. Let me see, where is it? Boom, look at this. Double helix hype, right? We can't keep that up for too long because it'll make everybody dizzy. But that's right, we are officially in the double helix section of the channel here. So from the cover, Deanna's life is threatened by a mysterious plague. Star Trek The Next Generation number 51, Double Helix, Book 1 of 6. Infection by John Gregory Betancourt. Double Helix concept by John J. Ordover and Michael Jan Friedman. They have a lot of nice concepts. Also from the cover here, you can enter the Strange New Worlds short story contest. Details inside. No purchase necessary. Thank goodness. Like the twisted strands of mutant chromosomes, an insidious alien conspiracy winds its way through the entire Alpha Quadrant, just as it stretches across several years of Starfleet history, beginning near the very heart of Captain Picard's command of the Starship Enterprise. It is only the first year of the USS Enterprise's D's ongoing mission when a virulent epidemic strikes the populace of Archaria 3, endangering the lives of thousands and provoking acts of mob violence against those believed responsible for the spread of the disease. While Data and Natasha Yar team up to uncover the true origins of the virus, Dr. Crusher finds the implacable sickness resists all of her efforts to find a cure. The desperate quest for a cure becomes even more urgent when Deanna Troi succumbs to the dreaded plague. Again and again. Kind of a weird, alright, it's not too bad, it doesn't really give away too much, but it's kind of weird again and again. I think she just got it once, and then she was cured. She didn't get it again. Maybe in the next book. I don't know. She gets it every time, right? Anyway, this was published in 1999, and it came in at a cool 226 pages, and I think 23 chapters. And again, as I read from the back there, this was kind of cool because this was a book published in 99, but set in the first year of the Captain Picard's captaincy of the Enterprise, right? So you have the author writing the characters as they were, at that point in the series. I'm going to put this down so I stop waving it around. Which I thought he did a really good job of that, There were some interesting callbacks, like how Deanna used to call him Bill instead of Will, and just interesting to see kind of the progression, right? Where they're kind of like younger, making more mistakes, and just a few little instances too where you're like, well, man, I don't think Worf would have done that in season 4, right? But season 1 Worf, right? He made a little mistake maybe. So now listen, we've got this to look at too. The incredible book about books, and we'll go into a little bit about, I guess, how the concept came up here. Again, this was made by John J. Ordover and Michael Jan Friedman, and this was in the time when Outbreak and a lot of other this like biological quarantine stuff was kind of popular and going on, so they decided to do something like that for Star Trek. And what I like about this is that it is a threat that is done over multiple years, so it's not like one continuous story. It's something that kind of keeps popping up over time, so we're going to get to see the crew and other characters as well. I've not spoiled myself, in different situations and different times than the normal periods that we're used to seeing them in. So going forward, that's going to be really cool. Now, about this book here, the author remarked, John Ordover, the Star Trek editor who came up with the idea for Infection with Michael Jan Friedman, asked me to write the first book as kind of an apology. He had held a couple outlines for several years, promising to buy them and never did. He also misspelled my name on the cover of the first edition of Incident at Arbuck. Unforgivable. Unforgivable, right? Anyway, so that's how he was given the opportunity to write Double Helix, and it was a very fun book, right? It was a classic TNG story that didn't get too entangled, and well, let's just kind of get right into it, really. Well, first off, let me just say I give it like a very high marks, before I get into the spoilery talk. Again, classic TNG. No one character gets too much of the focus. I guess if you would have to say anything, Data and Tasha do have a little bit of the majority, I guess, of it, but everybody gets a chance to shine, even O'Brien and Geordi, who at that time was just, remember, the helmsman of the Enterprise. So, O'Brien had a very cool scene as well. So, very, just very spread out, right? It didn't focus too much on any one character. The story gave everybody a chance to do something interesting and fun, and the story paced along well. There were some red herrings, thrown in there. And then there's this overarching mystery now, too, that we have to look forward to. So, very excited for that. And I will say, I did a decent job at taking notes here. Let's get to the page here. Look at this. Look, that's almost a full page of notes, and most of them were taken, like, as I was reading it, too. So, hopefully I will be able to tell the story well here, right, as we move ahead. So the story is told in two parts here. Part one is the coming of the plague, and it basically starts out with this guy, Solomon, who's been contracted by the Orions or something, and he is there on the planet Archerian 3 releasing this plague, right? And he's been told that he's going to be fine. It's only going to affect those of mixed heritage on this planet, right? So anyone who's full-blooded human or full-blooded Palladian, which is like the other species on this planet, they'll be fine. So the book starts out with a conference room scene on the Enterprise, so you know that you're starting out well there already. They're getting briefed on what's going on the whole mission. They're laying out their plans for their away teams. They're going to have a medical team go down, then they're going to have like a cultural team go down to kind of figure out what's going on. You see, there is a larger problem here that's happening on this planet with it's a racism issue, basically, where the people have this group that's been formed called the Purity League, and they oppose anyone who mixes with other people, right? So, humans only, nothing else. So there have been riots, there have been attacks, there's been a lot going on. And then on top of that now, you have this plague, and this plague is only affecting those of mixed heritage, right? So that's the situation that they're coming into here. When they get to the planet, this is where the red herring comes in. They meet up with well, first off, they speak with like the Governor Sec, and you can kind of tell immediately that he's hiding something. There's something more going on than what he's saying. Then they speak with the doctor, the main doctor, Dr. Tang, and he kind of seems like he's a little bit crazy, maybe a little bit suspicious. So immediately, like, Dr. Crusher is kind of already suspecting him of at least, not fully doing his job, or not, properly doing his job, right? But he's under this terrible situation where he's got, thousands and thousands of infected, thousands of dead, and having to deal with all this, right? So that's the situation they come into. Again, everyone's kind of suspicious, and that's when Geordi gets his chance to shine. They realize that the quarantine is not in effect. Some ships have left the planet. So Geordi heads down to astrometrics, and he gets his little moment in the sun, right? And he's able to track all the ships that left, and he finds that a ship has went directly to the moon. And that's when they kind of get it out of the governor that the governor sent his family to go hide in this moon base when the thing broke out. So now the Enterprise has to get everybody back, get everybody quarantined, and that kind of becomes part of their mission there too, is to make sure all ships, all people are accounted for. But now they have to set another away mission, and this is going to be Worf with a couple of security people heading down to the moon base to kind of see what's going on down there. So you have multiple stories going on, like I said, multiple chances for people to get their chance to be in the story. And again, he does a great job of writing it in the context of them all being season one. Worf has this little scene where he goes and he checks in with Yar to kind of make sure that he's choosing the right people, or and it's just kind of neat to see this kind of early character development here, right? Even though we know how it kind of all goes. So anyway, when they get down to the moon base, Worf and his security team find a pile of bodies chopped apart by Klingon weapons, right? So his security team is kind of put off by it. He kind of advances by himself. And this is kind of the silly part in the book, too. He finds the Klingons and ends up just kind of making friends with them and drinking some blood wine with them. And then he ends up passing out, right? So that was kind of silly, but basically the Klingons were up there hiding as well because they didn't want to be stuck there with the quarantine. So they were just up there drinking blood wine like crazy, and Worf got involved in it as well. Now, I said O'Brien gets a little scene, and he does get a scene as well. Dr. Crusher is trying to figure out the cure, so she wants to beam a patient up, right? So she's got to have like double biofilter protection. So O'Brien gets a little spot where he sticks his head in the transporter console and he's banging around and rewiring things and is able to set up this double filter. They beam their patient aboard, which was, I think, one of the people that Worf found on the moon before he got drunk with the Klingons. And what's that say? Definitely takes off the mission. Oh, yeah. Anyway, they beam the person aboard, and then part two, basically, nothing works. Everything works, right? They think that they've cured it, everything looks good, until Deanna comes down with the plague, and they realize, everything that Dr. Tang was saying was true. He kept trying to tell them, biofilters don't work. It's going to get through your force fields. Why don't you believe me? That they did not. And because of that, Deanna is now infected, and basically now the Enterprise is also under quarantine as well, right? So now Dr. Crusher is she's trying to figure out how this could be possible. How could a virus get through? How could it get small enough to get through this quarantine filter that she's got set up, right? So you got that going on the ship, and then down on the planet, you have the away team of Riker, Data, and Yar, and they are down there to gather more information about this Purity League, about the riots that are going on, and just kind of reconnoiter, right? So both of them have these long bushy beards on to kind of match the part, so you can kind of picture that, right? And basically they're looking for the next rally that these racists are having, and they're going to go there and kind of see what the story is. And when they get there, they see it's like right by the hospital, and the brother who or whatever is inciting basically inciting a riot and inciting violence against the hospital, just riling the crowd up and making everybody get crazy, where they eventually do attack the hospital, but then the hospital has like its own force field. It's like, so, that's fine, and everything's kind of resolved there. But in the aftermath of that, Riker and the away team are trying to like escape from the security. They end up stunning a couple people. Security goes a little crazy, ends up blasting, and a wall falls on Riker. Boom, and then he gets knocked out. So, and that's kind of funny because then, kind of adjoined to that, one of the other chapters is Worf drinking with the Klingons, and then all of a sudden, boom, Worf is knocked out, right? So then later on in the story, you get both of them waking up, right? Worf wakes up to a bunch of drunken Klingons all passed out, and he's just like, oh, I didn't report in, I didn't do anything, I just been drinking. So then he reports in, and he gets beamed back to the ship. And you don't really hear anything else about that either, so, it probably didn't make for a good report on his record for a young Lieutenant Worf there, right? But Riker, he wakes up in a prison cell with a bunch of these Purity League guys, so he's kind of like play along with them, The writer did a good job of writing how it must feel to be concussed. I've never been concussed, but I feel that like those couple of pages, they really got into like they really rung his bell, right? So he's trying to just get along, and basically finds out that the cops there kind of in league with these people too, so they're just going to get like a little slap on the wrist, and they're going to be going home in a little bit, right? So this guy helps him home, kind of befriends Riker and everything, thinks he's one of the crew, and then gets Riker to a phone, and Riker then he phones the Enterprise, asks for a beam up right there, like from the phone booth or whatever, and the guy's like, you betrayed me, you thought you were someone else. And then Riker's like, well, see, people can be anything, you never know who can be your friend, right? And that's like the life lesson for this guy. So it turns out good in the epilogue, which we'll get to. But anyway, back to the virus. I didn't mention earlier that the virus had a secret code written in it and said like, smile, you are dead, when they like got the virus and they microscoped it and they got it down to like the smallest level, which made them determine, of course, it was engineered by somebody. So then later on in the story, when Dr. Crusher's trying to figure out exactly what's going on, that's going to come into it. But let's finish up on the planet first, because this is the stars of the show here, right? This is Data and Yar. So they are down on the planet, kind of looking around, when they notice this guy acting very suspiciously. He seems to be, he's up on top of a building, he's like scanning with a tricorder, he's doing some weird stuff. He doesn't see them, so they decide, well, let's take him out. So she hands Data her phaser, so he's got dual wielding phasers, and he blasts the guy down. They go on up to the roof, and it's none other than the Solomon, who's responsible for spreading the plague everywhere, right? So they get him, they wake him up, they try to question him. He tries to lie, but they know what's going on, and then he tries to do an emergency beam out, and I didn't even know if it's safe and it works like this, but it does, because it did. Tasha jumps on and like grabs the guy as he's beaming out. So she beams back to his ship with him. They get into a scuffle, very short-lived. I think basically it's one karate kick to the stomach, and then a Starfleet chop to the neck, and that dude's done. They try to question him, but he's got a poisoned tooth, and he takes the poisoned tooth, and he kills himself, right? But on the ship, they find a load of weapons, like old Starfleet weapons, Starfleet assault rifles, and of course they find the virus, the components of the virus as well. So they fly they beam Data to her location. They fly back up to the ship. Back on the ship, Dr. Crusher has kind of puzzled the whole thing out. She's like, how could a virus get through? The hole's only that big, the virus is that big, it's not going to fit through. But what if the individual prions, I never knew what a prion was before, but these very small components, a prion, right? These individual prions could come together on the other side and like reform, like a friggin' like Voltron, right? Like they come together, so they go through little things, and then once they're free of the biofilter, they become the virus. It's a very cool idea. Like I've never heard anything like that, so I like that. That was very good. And again, a new word, prions. Watch out for your prions. So she solves the mystery. They create the cure. They cure the populace. And somehow, I'm guessing because of the cure and because it came from an outside source, right? Not from within the planet, that caused the people of the planet to start to rethink their racist ways. So hopefully they're on the path to, not being quite so terrible and racist against each other, right? So that's how it ends up in the epilogue, which I thought was nice. But then, boom, 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 at the very end, this is great too. Perfect setup for the rest of the thing. There's this mysterious general, and he's given the information that the plan has failed. Solomon is dead, and he has failed. The virus has been found out and solved by Starfleet, and they've ruined it. They ruined it for him, and he's like rocking on the floor, like no, no, So that was actually pretty good. But now we got this mysterious guy, and we'll see kind of how that develops over time. But basically, what that turned this whole thing into was a test. And that's exactly what Picard was saying in his final conference room scene in the book, too. That this seemed basically like a test, like someone was testing Starfleet to see their reactions, what they would do. And they came in, they kicked butt, they got it in 2 days, and they wiped it out, right? So they passed that test, but now we have to go into the next book, book 2. And I've been kind of gleaning a little bit that some more characters are going to show up. So this is TNG numbered series, but we're going to write in some other people to it as well. So very cool. Very happy to be going deep into the Double Helix saga. So continue to join me on the adventure here as we continue on. Hopefully one of my friends also is going to dive into this series as well to add to the discussion. So as always, everybody, thanks for hanging out and listening. Live long and prosper, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Good night.